try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for heroes, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Good evening. Hello, social change warriors and justice seekers. Welcome to Social Change Warriors. I'm Catherine Felton Page, your host and founder of Social Change Warriors. So happy to have you here with me tonight. Thank you to everybody that cares about victims of crimes, of homicides, of the M word that we're supposedly not supposed to use on social media anymore. I'm still digging into why that is. I don't completely understand it, but you know what I mean. It's the MURDER word, but we'll stick with homicide for most of the night tonight, but that has a lot of different meanings, of course. So welcome, welcome. And thank you to everyone that has subscribed to our channel. Thank you for pushing us over 1,000 because we really need that. We need that exposure for your family members who were unalived by the hands of someone else. So I'm happy to have you back with me tonight. And for those of you that will watch on replay, thank you so much for sharing out the hashtags of our family's loved ones and sharing out their stories and what happened to them and our advocacy missions that we're going to partake with these family members. We have 3 new families that we've been meeting for the past couple of months, and that we're slowly looking into their loved ones unaliving or missing. In one case, the mother and the son are still missing. And of course, you know that Sarah Ebersol is still missing. We have been with the family, the sister of Sarah Ebersol, Michelle, now since last summer. So we will have a brief update. There isn't much to say, unfortunately and sadly, but we will have a brief update on Sarah because we're going to keep speaking her name and crying out for justice for her and for finding her and bringing her home, whatever that looks like for her family. So we are an advocacy channel. If you're new to Social Change Warriors, welcome, and we're so happy to have you with us. We advocate for families and their victims of homicide who have no justice, because having no justice for your loved one who has been unalived by the violent hands of someone else, it can't be a greater pain. I have never experienced that pain, but I know that if I did, I believe I'm beginning to know what that would feel like in a little bit of a way, because of getting to know all of you this almost past year and hearing your horrific stories of the tragic deaths of your loved ones by the hands of someone else. We have so much empathy for you, sympathy, and we want to help you to the best of our ability. And the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I have to keep believing that because Martin Luther King Jr. spoke those words oh so long ago when I was only about 5 years old. And I remember them. I remember seeing him on television before he was unalived, so tragically and viciously. And we have to believe in this or we can't stand for justice. We can't keep going. We can't keep standing for families who need us if we stop believing in this. So I'm urging all of you, no matter how dark it does appear at times and how frustrated you must be with the cases of your loved ones stalling, not finding your missing loved ones, the homicides of your loved ones not being solved by the police, issues, roadblocks, not doing their job, because none of them are perfect. And there are times when the police are going to mess up. And when they mess up, that hurts your case. That hurts solving your case. But it does happen. And it doesn't always mean that they're dirty cops or that they are on the take cops. That doesn't mean that. They are human, and not sometimes the training is lacking in certain communities, in certain states, and the cases don't get solved. And that's a travesty, because there's so much that can be done to find your loved ones when they're missing or to solve who unalived them, because it is sad for me to say this to you, but this is a statistic that I know a lot of people don't want to hear because it's hard to fathom. But most people that are unalived know the person who hurt them. It's a terrible, terrible statistic, but we have to study statistics as well. And we have to read as much as we can read, because as you know, most of you that have been with me for a while, knowledge is power. Knowledge, power, action, change, because we need all of those 4 components. We need that square in order to solve the crime of your loved one. The police need to know. They need that knowledge. They need to take action. They need power. And then we need to help them with change if their department isn't doing their job. If they have officers that are not doing their job properly, then we come in with advocacy and we advocate for change in that government or in that department. So please keep believing in the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We have to keep believing that if we're going to advocate for people that don't have any justice. So as I said, I'm the founder of Social Change Warriors. We started up with a website and with doing pre-recordeds back in roughly during COVID in 2020. I think we became official in 2021. But prior to that, I was working with fellow social workers on projects on the ground where we could make a difference in communities that needed change, that needed laws to be changed, that needed voices to be raised for things that were happening in their communities that were unjust for their community members. So we were doing that for together. There were about 12 of us for quite a while. And then I kind of retired for a while, had to step out. It's a lot. It's overwhelming at times. And all of you that follow true crime cases and that follow court cases, like the Karen Reed case that I've been following with many of you, it's very taxing and it can be very hard on your central nervous system. And sometimes you do have to take a step back and live your life. You can advocate, you can still do some advocacy, but you really can't do it 24/7 like the families do. The families feel compelled and they have to do what they have to do. And we are not here to lecture a family about self-care because they have lost a loved one and they are just going to have to do what they have to do. I do pray that they get self-care. I encourage it because their loved one would want that for them. them. They would want them to take care of themselves, because we can't stand for others if we can't stand up ourselves. And compassion fatigue is horrible, and it's real. And I've had it. I know what it is. And I encourage you all to be very careful and look out for the signs of that, because it can be dangerous for you. So we are going to now, as I came out of retirement last July, we are working with families to help their loved ones get whatever justice we can get for them. Is it always possible to get 100% justice? No. It's not. And that hurts me to say that to you. I don't like having to say that to you. I'm going to come on big because I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. It's not always possible to get 100% justice, because cases have not been worked correctly. They were delayed. The officers didn't do a proper job, or they didn't have the right training, or simply the person did a really good job and they're getting away with it. They did a very good job covering their tracks, and that's horrible to hear when you're the family member. But these are all the various reasons why cases don't get solved. There was no evidence left at the scene to speak of that could lead to that person. That person was very good at covering their tracks. Your person probably trusted that person, so they had insight into how to manipulate them. And that it's all horrific to hear, but there are going to be times when the most justice we can get for your loved one is to advocate for them, and to not just accept what's being told to us by the police and the government, and advocate and have our standouts. Like Sarah has had, we've had standouts for Sarah. I've been to one live. I've been supporting all of them on social media. Michelle, her sister, has been a trooper, and many of the people in the Ocala and the Marion County area. So we can have standouts. We can do these live streams. We can continue to wear t-shirts and buttons and try to get media involved. We can continue advocacy, but there are going to be times, and I really hate saying it because I don't want to, but there will be times when there isn't enough evidence to proceed with that prosecution, with that trial, or with that arrest. So we have to always keep all that in mind. As much as we want it, we may not get it, but we can get what we can get, and as much as we can get for your loved one, and help you keep their memory alive for as long as you want us to be involved. So I thank you. I feel honored by all of the families that have asked me to help with their loved ones' advocacy and looking at their loved ones' cases, which means looking at the police reports, whatever there might be for me to look at. If the case is closed, I can get everything unredacted. Like in the case of Jason Veach, they closed his case. They did not pursue prosecution. So we are able to get, Kara was able, not me. Kara got all the police reports and all the audio, and we have been working together to put together an advocacy campaign for Jason. Will that mean that eventually they will take his case and proceed with prosecution? I don't know. They've already denied it. They said there wasn't enough evidence to go to trial, to feel that they could effectively get a jury to agree that this person, yes, this person did this. So I don't know, but we will do as much as we can to advocate for Jason and for your loved one. Those of you that are with us tonight, the families of our 3 new unalivings, unfortunately, and we have 2 that are missing. Technically, they're not considered unalived yet, but they are missing, and they have been missing for over 2 years. Sarah Ebersol, missing for over 2 years. She's presumed, at this point, she is presumed dead. It's horrible. I hate saying it because I like to always keep the faith that maybe somebody just has her, or maybe somebody has this mother and son that are missing. But I hate to say it, but 2 years going on 2.5 is a long time. So we're looking for justice for them, because nobody just disappears into thin air. That doesn't happen. It's very, very rare that somebody has a mental breakdown, which leads them to disappear from their family and loved ones and leave all their money and credit cards and ID and just go unalive themselves in some big, vast forest where they're never to be found again. That is very, very rare. So in most of these cases where your family is still missing, somebody made them go missing. Somebody took them. So we will keep fighting and advocating for them, because we will assume that they are in danger. Now, if your person has already been unalived and you're looking for justice, first I have to look at your whole case. I have to read as much as I can read, talk to you, basically interview with you, and get as much information as I can, because I can't just jump in and take your side, because that wouldn't be fair, because I need to stay in the middle when I first look at a case of your loved one's homicide. I believe you. I know you believe that something happened to them and that it was by nefarious means, by the hands of someone else. But until I can actually read everything, the police reports, whatever you can give me, the witness statements, then I can sit down with you and let you know if I feel comfortable advocating for justice. Because again, some things can be an accident. So there's no justice there. Accidents are horrible. They happen all the time. If you were with me at all last night, I told you my grandfather was hit by a car. The young woman was driving recklessly and not paying attention because my grandfather was in the crosswalk, and he passed away on the operating table. She did not M-word him. She did not, in my opinion, yes, she could have been charged with manslaughter, because manslaughter is when someone else dies because you did something wrong. It doesn't mean it was on purpose or premeditated or that you're a bad, evil person. But my grandmother chose not to go that route. So that person had to just live with what they did. And so there will be times where I may have to say to a family, I can't advocate for justice, but I'm happy to share your person's story. I'm happy to share some live streams about your person, and you can come on and talk to me about your person and what your side of the story is. But I can't go and advocate when I feel that something truly was an accident. So I might not always agree with a family if it was an accident or not. That's possible as well. So these are all things that happen in this early stage, which is what Thursday nights are for. So Thursday nights is, I technically call it calling out corruption, but there's not always corruption to be called out. Sometimes it's just a matter of the police are not properly doing what they're supposed to be doing. So your case is stalled and you're not getting justice. You're not finding out who unalived your person because the police aren't doing their job properly. So there isn't always corruption involved, but there is sometimes, yes, there's corruption involved in many cases around our country. It's very sickening and very heartbreaking. And that's why we have to come together as a community and do the best we can, as I say, calling out corruption one community at a time, because we can only do so much. And that's why my hope is that Social Change Warriors, after I'm no longer here, that someone will take it over for me and continue to grow the program so that we have a program in every state in the country, so that each program can focus on the states. I have currently 14 families that I'm working with, and they're all over the country, it's a little overwhelming at times. And I sure could use the help in these other states and have a Social Change Warriors movement in every state, so that every state could get its proper due and attention for community members and grassroots advocacy members calling out the corruption that's going on around our country. So that's what we do on Thursday nights. We meet the families when it's appropriate. We look at the police reports. We look at any news coverage that they've had. We talk it out with you, because you are all interested, either because you're family or your friends, or you're interested in true crime and you're interested in justice. So you are always welcome on Thursdays. These are working sessions. I'll add things to my case file that I have for the families. If they come with me live, you'll meet the families. We do have one family member here so far tonight, so you'll get a chance to meet the families. And then on Wednesdays is a night that I talk a lot about the various cases. I call Wednesdays my Angry Bitch Club, because I need a night to vent. Thursdays is not the night for that. It's the night to focus on evidence and the families and what they're trying to gain and what their justice advocacy campaign needs to look like. Wednesdays, I need a night just to vent, because all of these cases that we're working with the families on, somebody has passed away. Somebody is no longer living because someone else decided to hurt them. And that gets to me, and that gets on my soul. So I needed a night just to live stream with all of my subscribers to share some of their woes with me, and I can share some of my woes with them about the families that are going through this and how heartbroken we are for them. And we just need a night to vent. And sometimes we might bring up other topics that have to do with domestic violence and how many cases there are of that we're currently working on that are not, there's no justice. The person who unalived his wife is still free, walking out there free. So we'll talk about those cases. So Wednesday can be a real mishmash of a lot of different things that we are angry about, that we are mad about. And we'll talk about laws that need to be changed. So that's what we do on Wednesdays. And Fridays, I decided to start covering the Karen Reed trial back in the fall. So we started Friday Night Lies instead of Friday Night Lights in January, right after football season ended. And that's how I came up with this name for us. So we have been following Karen Reed, and now That case will soon be coming to a close. We'll be on live tomorrow night with Friday Night Lies for probably the final episode of the Karen Reed trial, final live show for it. But we'll continue to follow it depending on what happens to Karen. I personally believe that Karen should not be convicted of this. I don't believe that there was enough evidence. Oops, sorry, doggies are going to bark at something. That's what happens when you have doggies and you're a live streamer, so bear with me. If you hear me mute, if I don't talk for a minute, it's because he's barking too loud. So I will spare that for you. So there'll be some silence until I get him to be quiet. He's a puppy, so he's learning. The older dog's out in the living room and he's alerting me to something too. So thanks for your patience with the doggies. So anyway, that's Fridays. Now we're going to cover whatever trial comes up that you're all interested in covering. You can email me and tell me if there's a particular trial you'd like me to update and look at the witnesses. What we do is we look at the witnesses. We look at why were they called as a witness? Are they telling the truth? Do we feel they're being evasive? So we review the witness testimony, and that would be mostly for the cases. Come here, Tanner. Mostly for the cases that are live, that are being live streamed by the law tubers and by Court TV. But if there is a case, like for instance, a Diddy case that's not being, it's not allowed to be live streamed, but there are people reporting on it. So we've had Hannah come on with us on Wednesdays and give us some updates on the Diddy trial. So whatever trial you're interested in, we can, find a way to do updates on it and talk about the witnesses and talk about if they were, truthful, or were they evasive, or did they downright lie? So that's what we're doing on Friday nights with the different various court cases that are going to be happening soon again around our country, unfortunately, where homicides and unalivings are concerned. So that's our schedule. I will put this little card up on my social media so you can be reminded of what nights we live stream. I always put up social media reminders of when we do. Our hashtag is My Life Mattered, because we truly believe that if your family member is no longer with you, they are saying this out loud every day to the person that hurt them. My life mattered. And so we have to always keep that in mind, that they were here, they had a life, they had a family, friends. For a lot of people that are not involved, that follow true crime, it can get a little overwhelming. And sometimes you get into the facts of the case and you get into the court hearing and what's happening in court. And I always want to remind everybody that there was a live person. That's the only reason there's a court case, because somebody took the life of someone else. And we have to always keep remembering that they're telling us that my life mattered. So if you can use our hashtag, My Life Mattered, when you talk about these families and their cases and their loved ones, I would truly appreciate it, and so would they. So I just want to bring, first of all, just want to go through the outline of what I'm going to talk about tonight, and then I'm going to bring our guest up. On Wednesdays, like I said, a lot of our cases are domestic abuse cases, because that is my expertise when I was a social worker, and my master's degree is in domestic abuse. My background is also in law enforcement. I was a police officer, so that helps me when it comes to reviewing your loved one's police reports. So on Wednesdays, I go over these different facts about domestic violence. We have another case that's been brought to my attention within this last week. It's another case involving the Florida Stand Your Ground law. So we're going to take a look at that, and I'm going to give you background on what happened to Deshaun Marquise Hudson. So we're going to be doing that tonight. This is Deshaun, and Deshaun is saying to us, my life mattered. And we'll be letting you know what the background on his case is and what is going on currently with his case. And then we're going to be going back into Marion County, where I have been spending time in my mind and on live streams and in person over there. One standout with Michelle, Sarah's sister, and many of Sarah's soldiers, and talk about how many unsolved cases that they have in Marion County. I'm doing the research on that right now. It's a slow dig because it's hard to get proper information at times. You really have to keep fighting for it. But there is Sarah Ebersol is missing. We have a mom and a son who have been missing for approximately the same time as Sarah Ebersol, right around the same time. And then we have an unsolved homicide. And that is, in my opinion, looking like it was a domestic violence homicide. And I want to bring our person, our person's mother up to the stage here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Sarah Ebersol. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening to our mother and our son. They are the Brooks. It is Erica, and I hope I say that right, Camarcus Brooks and Erica Brooks. And I'll talk about what's going on. And then we're going to meet Cody's mother and talk about Cody Novak and what happened to Cody and why her mother believes it was domestic violence. And I, having had much time now to review the case, I am inclined to believe her and to agree with her. So we'll be looking at some videos about Cody that her mother has made, and then I'll go over a few heartbreaking cases that came to my attention this week, and then we'll wrap it up for tonight. But we'll have a dedicated hour live stream for each one of these new cases that I'm going to be talking to you about tonight. So let's start out with talking about Cody, because her mom is here, and then she may need to go, and then I can go into the other cases after Cody's mom leaves. So I'm going to bring her up to the platform with me. Welcome, April. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing as best as I can, and I know you're doing as best as you can.
I'd rather be here under different circumstances.
I would rather have you just as my co-partner helping me with cases that have nothing to do with us, but that we want to help the families. I'm so sorry that you are the mother of a child that was unalived, you believe, by the hands of someone else.
Yes.
Oh boy. So, hey, Bert, welcome. Let me quick say hi again. Brittany is with us tonight. Brittany is the dear friend of Deshaun Hudson, who we'll be speaking about soon. And welcome all of our other social change warriors, subscribers. Welcome, Bert, from over in Tampa. And thanks for being part of our social change warriors family for justice. I appreciate every single one of you so much. So I think it's best to hear it. Let's hear a little bit about your dear Cody. Tell us, what was Cody like?
That smell.
I know that's hard.
I thought I could hold this together.
I hit you with the tough question right off the bat, didn't I? I'm so sorry about that. But I like to hear about what these lovely people were like, and that makes it so helpful to understand who they were and why my life mattered so much. So if you can't tonight, that's okay.
I can get through it. She was my right hand. Growing up, she was more responsible than most adults. You know, she knew what everybody in the household was doing before I did. She literally would say, Mom, you know, brother's doing this or sister's doing that or Dad did this, you know, and then don't tell them, you know, though, just bring it up to them. You know, then she met a boy who she thought she was in love with.
Mm-hmm.
In that short 27 years, you just realize how it flew by.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it sure does.
And even though we thought we saw some minor red flags, it never would have led us to believe where we're at today.
I'm sure not. And I can guarantee you the other families I've met who have been in a domestic violence situation with their loved one and they're grieving and they're not getting justice, they feel the same way. I mean, it's heartbreaking when I would put up the pictures of Ellen Greenberg with her fiance and the parents, and they all look happy and everything looks as normal can be, whatever normal is, right? There is really truly no normal. But if you know what I mean, it was a happy picture. It was the holidays. And then just several months later, Ellen has been stabbed 20 times. And the police completely botched the investigation and ended up saying that they believe she unalived herself. Impossible, first of all, medically to stab yourself 20 times. And there were no other suspects. He was the suspect, and they never treated him as such. They never even considered DV, domestic violence, intimate partner violence.
It wasn't even just so much that. It was just so much. It was a complex case. I mean, the officers just had a narrative of who she was without even questioning who she was.
Right.
Just
and
because of where they found her.
And that's what we think has happened to so many of our victims, that the police get kind of confirmation bias going. with many of these victims of homicides that have to do with domestic violence. And that's very bothersome to me. And the police have to do a much better job of training their officers and their detectives to see the signs and understand the signs of what domestic violence is and how quickly it can lead to an unaliving.
The case is just more than that. The case was really, we actually reported her missing or lost or possibly in danger prior to this.
Oh, you did. So
we did.
How long did you think she was missing?
We thought she was missing for about approximately 3 days.
3 days, okay.
Because we had no contact with her. And they recovered her.
And that's unusual. And that's unusual, right? Typically,
we contact multiple times throughout the day. We literally, multiple times a day. It was constant back and forth. And then it was something happened that morning. And then my daughter said just something wasn't right. And we looked, my kids are GPSed. This is how overprotective and in your business I am. Mm-hmm. And then her GPS was showing at the Marion County Sheriff's Department. We called them, we asked them, and we confirmed it. They didn't have her. There was no domestic violence call. There was nothing. I had to find locating other people. We called around, checked to see if, she didn't know the area. So we just thought she was lost originally.
Right.
Maybe she was hanging out at the police station or in the area. The GPS was wrong. It's never been wrong, but that was one of our thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. That maybe she was scared. Maybe something happened and she was filing a domestic violence case.
Or that there was a police call and that they arrested her or him.
Mm-hmm. What day was this when you realized that her phone was pinging at Marion County?
January 5th. We last saw her January 3rd.
Okay.
None of this came up. And then when I finally reached the on-off boyfriend, he just told me she's on an autopsy table.
Are you kidding?
No. When I asked that same question, I had explicit language and I just asked if he was effing dead. And he said, yeah. That just sticks with me for the rest of my life.
Of course it does. What a horrible thing to say to a mother.
I had to call a medical examiner to find out if they retrieved my daughter, and she confirmed they did. And that she'd already had an autopsy with no notification. How do you perform an autopsy without even notifying the family that they found your daughter?
That's ridiculous. And how did Marion County Sheriffs not do a proper death notification to the family?
They wouldn't even meet me at my home. When I finally reached the detective, I asked him to come so I can tell him what we had recovered because we were trying to find her. And he said, no, he didn't need to. It wasn't important. I was dumbfounded. We didn't get that knock at the door. We didn't get it. We didn't come identify her.
So
nothing.
No death notification. I'm taking notes because this is a working session for me, Friend Zone. And for those of you that attend live streams, most people call it the chat, but I don't. I call it our friend zone. So if you're in the chat, you are a friend, you are an advocate. So Thursdays are working sessions. So you have to bear with us because I take a lot of notes if I am meeting with the family. And if I'm not meeting with the family, I've already taken the notes because I've met with them outside of the live stream. But sometimes it's beneficial to meet on the live stream because then I can go back and I can listen again, and I can look at your comments because a lot of you have great additions and great things to say. So number one egregious move was no death notification. So when did they bring her from the place of death to the autopsy? Do you know what day?
Yeah, January 4th at 4:00 in the morning.
So January 4th at 4 a.m. There should have automatically been a sheriff that came to your door within hours of that.
Nothing.
Unbelievable. And they had to have known who she was, right? They took her
The only thing they removed from the scene was her body, her cell phone, and her Pennsylvania photo ID.
And they didn't ask anybody at the scene who she was?
They spoke to 5 people.
So they knew who she was.
They told me that I didn't need to ID her, that the people at the scene ID'd her.
That's incredibly callous. I
asked him if he would please meet with us so we can go over some information and some domestic violence and some video camera footage of when she left my home and who she was with. That there was no need to.
notification of next of kin is protocol. I'm gonna
I
find
asked
out.
about her being an organ donor, and they never once gave me the description of what happened and who it was and why. There is a lot that's not been done, but they expected me just to be okay with it. And as they told me, go seek help for my daughter's death.
Who said that to you?
Medical
April.
examiner.
The medical examiner said that to you?
Yep.
He said, go seek help for
She
your
did.
daughter's death.
She did, because I kept questioning all of my daughter's body. After viewing my daughter 7 days later in a funeral home, not expecting that face right there to look anything different than that.
Yes.
I did send you the image, and I haven't put them out because everything on my daughter's body had a mark.
Yes, I know. It was very hard
Except for the palms of her hands and the bottom of her feet were the only thing clean. But they expected nobody, not once, not an officer, not a medical examiner, explained to me that her body looked like that. And I had to walk into a funeral home to see that.
Oh my God.
Now, mind you, from all reports, she is described being in 3 different spots, 3 different areas, 3 different positions. So, and liquidity in her body tells you she was moved. On top of that, the call was at midnight.
Without being too graphic, because I always trigger warning for everybody in the live and for everybody on replay.
I try to be careful.
Give us an idea of what her wounds were, so that people understand why we believe this was a homicide and not any other reason.
She had probably a 4 to 6 inch bruising from her eye to her mouth, diagonal, on one side of her cheek. She had fingerprints, or what looked to be fingerprints, on her temples.
Yeah, I saw that. Mm-hmm.
She had fingernail scrapings near her nose and chin, and then one near her ear on her right side.
So nose, chin, and ear, right?
Right below her nostril on her nose.
Okay, nostril. Okay. Yeah.
The claim on the 911 call was she might have fallen and hit her head or neck, and that she was cold to the touch.
Have you ever requested the 911 call?
I do. I have that and the transcripts.
You have it.
And
okay.
We have listened to them over and over, including the background noises.
Okay. When the next live we do together, or if I do it without you, because this is tough stuff, and I never require the families to be present when I go over the police
I have
reports.
watched it with a different hat.
Okay. Okay, good. I'd like to play the 911 call when we meet again, whether that be next week or the following week, because that helps me a lot to have our live viewers help me to see, maybe I hear something I'm not hearing or pick something out. I know with Ellen Greenberg, I listened to the 911 call. I've probably listened to it 50 times. And every time I hear a little bit something different that really, truly says to me, he did it. He did it. I know he did it. And so I want to listen to the 911 call either with you or without you, but I'd like to do it on the live. Come here, Tanner. My doggy, my puppy. So we can, you can get that to me. Can you send that to me as a in a Google Drive?
Yes.
Because then it's really easy. Come here, Tanner. It's really easy for me to open them up out of that's how I did it with Kara Veach. Kara Veach is the case in Volusia County where her husband was unalived at a Cabbage Patch at the bar. And they considered it that he was not well, so that if he would have been, come here, Tanner, buddy. If he would have been well, he would have probably survived this. They held him down and he ended up passing. He was asphyxiated. And the Volusia County sheriffs in their wisdom wanted to make Kara believe that it was his fault because he was unwell. And I believe the detective said something to the effect of, he would have died anyway.
I've had a couple of victimizing statements from both the medical examiner and the sheriff's department.
Exactly. I was going to ask you that. That's why I brought up Kara, because there's so many, nothing's a coincidence in Florida. There's so many cases where so much bad behavior by law enforcement is literally almost the same in all of these cases. The way they treat the family, the way they treat the victim, the way they handle the case. There's confirmation bias right out of the gate in many of these cases, which I completely don't understand. That's absolutely against everything.
We've taken my daughter's file out of Florida, and I have gotten help from both Virginia, Pennsylvania, and We've been all over, but I've taken it to toxologists. I've taken it to forensic medical doctors. I have also taken it to different law enforcements and get them. I've had 2 private detectives, a retired detective, and a cold case detective look at the cases. And everybody's astonished by looking at what they've seen. I've had edited police reports and body camera. I have taken this to multiple superiors past the detective, including over 18 months to wait to speak with Sheriff Woods. And all I got was a complacent supervisor who then looked at me and said, we don't have a victim, that she hung with bad people at a bad residence.
That's what he said?
Yes.
Did you get that in writing from him by any chance?
No, I have it on recordings.
Good. Again, that's victim blaming, not even considering any other possible cause.
I've had the medical examiner over multiple phone calls, and the only thing they initially did on her autopsy was her toxology. And after further questioning, because I was getting help from excess doctors or other doctors.
Right.
And when I kept going back and they said, well, test the viscerus, because they kept saying that my daughter was just drunk and asphyxiated herself. But it's not written in any of her reports.
No, Tanner.
And it didn't make any sense because according to what they found in the paperwork was the Pennsylvania lab where they sent the blood work, when they certified her death January 11th, the lab hadn't even received the blood work until January 12th. So there was some confusion on that. So if they drew it on January 5th.
Definitely. I'm here. I'm just listening. I'm taking notes and I'm going to pull up a video that you gave me.
There's actually, I think I sent you that file. But if they certified her death January 5th, they certified it by what was it called? Ethanol toxicity on January 11th, but the lab didn't even receive the blood draw until January 12th in the Pennsylvania lab. They didn't even get the results back until the end of January. It says no other drugs found, but it's ethanol toxicity. So how can you rule that and certify it with the Department of Health? You didn't even have the lab at that point. So whose blood work did you test? And then there was some confusion after talking to the Department of Domestic Violence and some images around the neck and possible how injuries and TBIs affect blood levels. Never said that my daughter didn't drink. I mean, it was only 2 days after New Year, so alcohol does stay in your system for several days, up to 30 days, depending on what you drank. So it is possible that there would have been alcohol in her system if that was the case. But if his testing's an error, if the draw was an error, there's a lot of things that could affect it. So when I brought this back to the medical examiner, that's when she looked at me and said, just face your daughter was drunk and asphyxiated herself. And then I said, how do you know that somebody else didn't asphyxiate her? And I got a letter then at this point that by her attorney saying, no further contact with the family.
That's exactly what happened with Michelle with Sarah Ebersol. Because her case was so poorly handled that Michelle did a lot of investigative work on her own. And then they stopped. They wouldn't return her calls anymore. They wouldn't send her the redacted police reports. They treated her like she was some kind of criminal. I mean, it's utterly insane what happens to families when their cases aren't being solved and they get frustrated, and they have every right to be frustrated. And so you and I know you followed along with Sarah. You guys don't live very far from each other. Michelle, I believe I'm not going to say where she lives.
Right,
but
that's fine.
We're all in Marion County. And so both of these.
I'm not the only family though. And neither is Michelle.
I know.
Upon my research, feeling I was being gaslit by them, we started putting pieces together with more than 17 families.
Well, I need to work with you on this, because this is something where we could literally come together and have some type of a town hall meeting with all 17 families. We need to do more. I need to help you.
There are some families that are scared to talk because retaliation here is a big thing.
That's horrible. That's just horrible. Absolutely horrible that you can't get justice for your family because of retaliation. It's just so wrong. But it does. It happens. It happens in a lot of communities, and it's despicable and aggravating and really just horrible. There's just no words. There's no words for it. Let's take a look at what I've pulled up here. Give me a second to go back to the link that I have pulled up for you. And now, Solve the Case, you worked with them, correct? I'm
still working with them, actually. It's a national site. He's a detective also that they use, in a sense, internet sleuths and other people, which actually are certified doctors, detectives that help solve cases that have been either closed or suspicious or missing cases.
Good. Very good. Well, I'm thinking about sending in Jason Veach. And has anybody ever
sent?
I wonder if Michelle has ever sent Sarah in.
I did send her the information, but I don't know that, what she thought on that.
Right. So let me read a little bit of what they have here. So some of this you've already told us, and I apologize for the puppy. I'll probably have to take a stretch break here in a few minutes and take him out, but let's see if he can hang with us here for a minute. Last seen on January 3rd, 2023, by family and CCTV at approximately 5:30 p.m., leaving her family residence in the southeast corner of Fort King District of Marion County, Ocala, Florida. So Ocala, Florida, for all of you that are not in Florida with me, I'm over on the Atlantic side in Volusia County. I'm near Daytona Beach, and Ocala is literally basically sort of in the middle of the state, but more north. So it's just north of, you're south of Gainesville.
I'm about the center of the Florida.
Right about the center, right?
An hour from either side.
Just 30 minutes approximately to your north is Gainesville, where the University of Florida is, correct?
Maybe. I'm only married to a truck driver.
Okay. Well, Gainesville is just to your north, about 30 minutes, and that's where the University of Florida is. And then about, I would say, an hour to your west is where the Gulf of Mexico is, where there's a lot of small communities. So Ocala is big horse country. There's a lot of Kentucky Derby horses that come, Belmont, the Preakness horses that come out of Ocala. It's a big horse community, correct? And there's lots of ranches, and that's also has
supposed to be, but I guess they're getting paved over.
Yeah, well, it still is for the most part. And there's also the Ocala National Forest, which is a huge national forest.
That's where a lot of these cases are missing out of. It's like you go into the forest, they say, and you don't come back.
Yeah, there's a lot of scary rumors about the forest, other than that it is beautiful and there's a lot of hiking trails and nature, but there is a lot of rumors about a lot of the missing could be in that forest. Very possible.
Well, that's where they were last seen.
Exactly. And it's very scary. So she was living with her on and off, again, boyfriend, according to them, in the direction of the residence on, I won't read the address out loud. There's no reason to. No one lives there anymore, but we don't need to know.
No, they do live there.
Oh, yeah. Well, then we're not.
There was 5 people in that residence. She was splitting her time between her family home and there.
Okay. But I don't like to read out.
The boyfriend couldn't stay here.
Gotcha. So she was going back and forth, and she planned to return in the morning after 2 planned appointments, the eye doctor and the tax office. Did they get that all right?
Correct.
Okay. So the circumstances of what happened to Cody, she was new to the state. You all had recently moved here, right?
And the tax office is what they consider the DMV here.
Right. There are separate DMVs, but a lot of the smaller municipalities, smaller towns, some of the other outlying towns have what you call tax office, and that's where you go.
New to me. I didn't realize that.
Right, I didn't know that.
Tax office originally. I was surprised too, and that's where they say you have to do your license. She was going there to do her license because we were new to Florida.
Right. When I first went to Florida, there was a DMV in New Smyrna Beach, but I also knew there was a tax office in Daytona Beach that you can go to either one. But sometimes the tax office, what I learned, has less lines. So there's some information for all of you Florida folks. But so she had appointments. She was planning. There's no way she was considering unaliving herself or was having any type of thoughts of that. No. So that can be completely ruled out by her family, by the close contact you had with her, and she was very mentally stable.
She had paid her credit card bill that morning. She'd also scheduled a beach trip for her birthday, which was in a couple days, and she was coming in that morning.
Right. So it says here that there were concerns of possible domestic violence incidents. There was no notification within the system or from other official authorities. The family continued to search for Cody. And then on the afternoon of January 5th, 2023, through locating the boyfriend by phone, you were told very rudely that your daughter was at the medical examiner's office.
Right.
And
originally, because we have a coroner system in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So when he said ME's office, or, I thought it was like an urgent care, like a little doctor's office thing.
And so when you were first told that, when you first saw the phone was pinging at the Marion County Sheriff, you just thought maybe she was there reporting domestic violence or reporting something was wrong or had happened. But then when you didn't understand what was going on, because you thought maybe she was sick or needed help, he just boldly stated and very bluntly that she was on an autopsy table and dead. And that's how you found out what happened to your daughter.
Correct.
That's just so unacceptable and egregious. A call to the ME office in Leesburg, Florida confirmed without any notification or signed documents that they had already completed an autopsy on January 5th at 10:30 a.m., waiting for the toxicology results, which take approximately 6 to 8 weeks. They confirmed, it was also confirmed by the medical pathologist, Dr. Tracy S. Corey, the medical investigator, Wendy Morales. Cody was recovered from a bedroom at the stated residence and found deceased on January 5th, 2023, used an approximate EMS call at 00:17
in the morning.
That would be 12:17 is that when the 911 call went in?
No, 12:06 is when the 911 call went in.
Oh, 12:06. Okay. So, I see. I got ahead of myself. And so estimated time of death was at 12:17 after the boyfriend utilized 911. The family discussed any used life-saving measures, then learned there was none. There was none. There was no organ harvesting or donation due to the time lapse of discovery. Further was discussed the possible history of domestic violence and the boyfriend's known daily drinking and drug use. Family denied knowing drug use with Cody's history, clean drug tests, including weeks prior for her employment. She could have possibly consumed some alcohol. She was age appropriate, so that wasn't a problem, but not to the amounts indicated or described due to medical reasons. Discuss minimal medical information other than back injury and gastric bypass approximately 3 years prior, and expecting Emmy to order or contact Cody's doctors. You were then referred to Detective T. Pinder with major crimes with the Marion County Sheriff's Office. And from your initial contact, the detective refused to meet with the family, was dismissive, had a biased narrative, and considered Cody an overdose or an unaliving. And there was any background. Without interviewing the family, they can't possibly determine if she was unaliving or wanted to unalive herself without interviews with friends and family and figuring out her state of mind and what was she doing. Had she ordered a pizza that night? Was like Sandra Birchmore was doing her laundry and had ordered a baby carriage to be delivered to her house, but they expected all of us smart people to believe that she took her own life and that her horrible, nasty abuser didn't hurt her. I mean, do these people expect that we're stupid? Do they expect that we don't have common sense when we follow cases like your daughter's?
At some point they assumed I didn't know my daughter, and they went by witness statements of they didn't hear nothing, they didn't know nothing, and they didn't see nothing. Mm-hmm. And at some point they made the statements that my daughter gets drunk and takes medication and that she stumbles and falls.
And they had no evidence to that effect.
No, there was alcohol in the house.
Sure. Yeah. But there
was a personal sized vodka bottle.
College age kids living together in an apartment or a condo or a house?
They're not college age.
Well, they're older.
It was supposed to be a husband and wife, and possibly Lewis and.
How old was this group of people living together in this house where Cody was?
Other than my daughter and her boyfriend, the rest of them are over 30.
Okay,
to 60.
So
they're all adults, like large adults. I mean,
so Cody and her boyfriend were the youngest.
Correct.
Okay.
Cody was the youngest, and the rest are all over 30.
And this says neither agency ever discussed the condition or described the marks, bruises, or abrasions over her entire body and face, and that the family would learn while viewing Cody's body. And you didn't learn this until you saw her at the funeral.
Correct.
That's despicable. That's just despicable. So I'm going to come back up now. So what I would like to do, depending on your schedule, and you and I will talk off camera about this.
Okay.
I would like to go into this now much further. So I'll have the police reports here at my ready. Whatever you want us to show or don't, you let me know. I don't show autopsies unless I show very carefully. When I showed Ellen Greenberg's, the reasoning for that was because they're trying to get us believe that she unalived herself, stabbing herself 20 times. So the family was allowing the use of autopsy photos. We will only use what you give permission to use and what you feel is appropriate and okay.
I will discuss it with my husband and my family, just because her brother and her father have yet to see them and wish not to, because they're not pretty. I mean, they're,
no. And we don't have to see them. You've described,
they are written,
mm-hmm.
but the due justice or written thing is, for those that don't comprehend visually well, it's hard to understand.
Well, I can come up with some type of a drawing. I have a friend that will draw for me if a family doesn't want the autopsy photos to be used. I can come up with a drawing to show where all of her injuries were, and I can also then give you some good evidence-based research as to what that means and why those appear to be domestic violence inflicted. Okay. So we can go over all that. So you and I will plan if we want to go next week or the following week. And everyone here with us tonight and on replay, we will let you know. I will post it on Twitter X and on Facebook, and so will the family. So we will let you know. And you can always just go right to my YouTube channel. And if you click on the live tab, you'll see what's coming up. I always put them out about 2 to 3 days in advance, sometimes more. If I know when it is for sure, I'll put it out even sooner. So you'll see when it's going to live on the YouTube channel. Where it says the live tab. April, it's really been an honor and a pleasure to get to know you these last few months. And I am so sorry for your loss, for what your family has been through, and for the loss of your dear, wonderful daughter, Cody. And we will do whatever we can to help you, to advocate for her, to try to help you get some kind of justice, however that's going to look. We don't know yet, but we will do our best. And you and I will obviously talk off of air, and we will work on her case off of air. But as much as we want to live, or you want to have a live show for Cody and to keep advocating for her so that this can be shared out, I'm happy to do that. With Sarah, we were doing them about every 2 weeks so that we could keep Sarah's name alive and keep putting out more information. We didn't want to give all of it out at once because it's so much. Right. So with this case as well, you have a lot. So we could just slowly give it out to the public over the course of every 2 weeks for now. I can try to ask for a meeting with Marion County Sheriff. They know me because I've called there many times for Sarah Ebersol, and they're going to get to know me better because I put in requests for police reports for your daughter and for the missing mother and son that I'm about to talk about, the Brooks. So they got that request for me today, an open records law request. Now, the Brooks case is still open, so all I'll be able to get is redacted, but your daughter's case is officially closed, so we can get everything. And do you have everything, or is there anything you want me to try to get with an open records law request?
I have everything that I'm aware of. I mean, I had help with the medical from the fire rescue. I mean, I have even their reports. As far as I know, there's nothing that I can't gather that they need.
It'll be interesting to see, because I went ahead and requested it anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what they're willing to send me, or what they're going to send me.
I'd like to see if it changes.
Yeah, that's why I did it, because they would not send anything to Michelle. They had quit communication with Michelle. So I wrote and said, I'm a victim advocate. I need I need the redacted police reports for Sarah Ebersol. She's been missing at that time. It was in the fall when I did this. And they sent me all 31 redacted pages of a 260 some. So today I asked for updated redacted police reports, because I want to see what they're doing, because I don't believe they're doing anything anymore on this case. And the problem with that is that once a law enforcement agency can no longer effectively, in their minds, investigate a case, they feel they have picked up every stone, they have left no stone unturned. It's really in the best interest of the family that they close the case, so it could possibly be taken up the level to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Because if you don't close the case, then the family can't get the police reports and they can't figure out what to do. And they won't, Florida Department of Law Enforcement will not take it until the agency says, we can't work this case anymore. We'd like to turn it over to FDL, or we'd like to turn it over to the FBI, and depending on, where the case is. But it can't happen until Marion County gives it up. And once something has gone on for 2.5 years, and let me show you before you and I say our goodbyes tonight, because I want to get moving. We have to do the next introductions. I just want to show you guys, hang on a second. I want to show you a statistic that is.
While you're pulling that up, I'm also working with 2 different other states. So to get the FBI involved under that.
Yes.
And they can only be invited in. So
Right. They have to be invited in.
They closed Cody's case before the 30 days. So they didn't even investigate at all. Literally have a letter from them that's saying they will not investigate. They sent it certified to us.
Do I have a copy of that too?
Yeah. Well, I can give it to you if you don't.
I'd like to read it. Thank you.
The only thing I thought about that might be able to be, if they could need anything, would be the phone records and text messages that the detective might have sent to his superiors when he asked the case to be closed at the scene. That's the only thing I don't have, is any phone records between him and his superiors. Because he's the one that requested it, according to the report, closed. Because then all of a sudden he changed it to a natural occurrence.
Well, yes, I'm going to keep taking notes on some of these bizarre things that have happened while you've had these really odd contacts with the Marion County Sheriff. This is very.
I just keep collecting business cards like I'm going to play Uno or something. And every time I think of somebody, I want their business card, because this is another name that did nothing.
This has to do with missing persons, and this is just my segue to go into who we're going to be talking about next, which is Sarah Ebersol and the Brooks family. Your daughter was missing for 3 days, but your daughter fell into this. That's why I wanted to bring it up before you left us for tonight. 85% of cases were solved within a week, 95 within a month, 97 within 6 months, 98 within a year. And these are statistics from 2016 to 2019. So they're relatively still considered recent. I'll see if there's anything new, but I was checking and I couldn't find anything. So they might not have put out a new study yet with the new span of years. 70% of all reported missing persons are found or voluntarily returned within 48 to 78 hours. That's kind of the norm. But then you have this amount where it's more, it's 6 months, a year, but most of them are that 70% is within that 85% where they're solved within a week. So you've got, in that 85%, you've got 70% of those are reported missing or found within 48 to 72 hours. And then the rest of them, you go down to a month, 6 months, and then even a year where someone has been found. So your daughter fell into that perfectly, but she was already unalived. And Sarah has been missing 2.5 years, and the Brooks family has been missing 2.5 years. That's way outside the boundaries. So what is going on in Marion County? Why cannot we find Sarah Ebersol and the Brooks? This is very disturbing. And why did Marion County treat you so poorly and not give a death notification to the next of kin? That's egregious. It doesn't matter.
It never matters. Those cases.
Right. It never matters.
17 in the same time frame.
Yes. And it never matters how old someone is. The next of kin is always notified. That's protocol. That's procedure. So I'm going to try to reach out to the sergeant that has been very decent to me and ask him why. I want to know why. I want an answer as to why this happened to you. Why were you not given a death notification? It's unacceptable. And at the very least, you should have been sent a letter explaining how sorry they were that this happened and that this colossal mistake was made. And they did nothing. They did nothing at all to be sorry for what they put you and your family through. It's terrible. It's just
right now they're saying because the medical examiner ruled it an accident, they can't investigate.
It's just not, it's not right.
And then the medical examiner is saying it's up to Marion County to investigate it.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Well, you are welcome to stay, or if you have to go.
I'll watch from the backside or the other side.
Yes, you can. And thank you. And I'll be in touch with you, and we'll plan our next live stream to further delve into all of the pieces of this puzzle of your daughter's suspected domestic violence homicide.
Thank you.
And again, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. Thank you.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, April. All right, guys. I'm going to take a short stretch break and run the puppy out. So I'm just going to put up a little note, and I'll put on some really bad elevator music because that's all I've got right now. I'm working on better music for you during these stretch breaks. So I'll be right back, and then we're going to continue with the Brooks family, also missing out of Marion County. This is very disturbing. So I will be back within 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you so much for your patience. Thanks, everybody. I'm back. I have a new puppy, and it's my first puppy in a long, long time because my doggies tend to live very long lives. So I am still getting used to having a puppy. It's wonderful. It's exhausting. It's special. It's everything. So thank you for your patience with Tanner. All right, so now we have more sadness to discuss because that's what we do here. We are advocating for people who are missing because something nefarious has happened to them. Not, as I said at the beginning of the hour, not many people go missing of their own accord. It's very rare. It does happen, yes. People that are having mental health crisis can decide to go off and end their life, but they typically will leave a note for the family, or they will be found by they typically will be found because there's been clues, or they were seen on surveillance camera, or they went to a national park and they were seen going through the gate. Their car can be traced, their phone could be traced. But in the case of Sarah Ebersol, she literally went missing without a trace. And in the case of what I am now learning, because this is new to me, and I want to thank Sarah Ebersol's Sarah's Soldiers for letting me know about this dear mother and son, also from Marion County, the Ocala area, who have been missing now for almost the exact same time as Sarah Ebersol. And April's in with us now in our friend zone, and I want to thank her so much for having the courage to speak live with us. We've been talking, I've been reviewing her daughter's case for several months now, and the timing wasn't working out for me because of my caseload has been quite heavy. And now that so many of my cases are kind of in limbo, some of them are going into trial, some of them are now going cold, which is very sad. Suzanne Morphew and Suzanne Clark Simpson is still missing, but her husband's case should be coming to trial. We just don't know when yet. So I've had some time now where I could pay more attention to Cody. I haven't been meaning to, but Cody's been with me and in my heart now since I first met April many months ago. Thanks to Sarah's Soldiers for introducing me to April as well, because these three missing and one unalived by, we believe, domestic violence, not by what they ruled her passing as, all are in shouting distance of each other. I mean, this should be very scary and frightening to you, because as April stated, there are at least 13 to 14 more families that I have not met yet who have unsolved or what we might believe are mislabeled causes of death. So thank you so much, April. I want to put your note up to everybody. Thank you for all your words. I know it will bring Cody back. I know it can't bring Cody back, but I would like to hope it would protect others from having the same experience, whether it be from the individual or the officials. Yes, April, I know it. It's just tragic. And so many of your loved ones, they can teach us things. They can set the record straight by telling us their story. They sometimes can solve their own homicides, their own missing cases. It's miraculous what can happen. And then that can help other families. So your loved one will always be remembered. Once I agree to work with a family, I like to call it my survivors and victims heartfelt board that I have, where I put up your pictures of your loved ones, and I will always show them. As long as I'm live streaming, their picture will come up, even if their case is solved or you get your justice. They'll always be part of our Social Change Warriors family. So thank you again. I'm honored to work with all of you. I have reached out to some family members of the Brooks, but I just did that today. This just came to me. I did not know about these lovely people. And so I'm learning. And so the next live we have, where we focus on just the Brooks, Erica and her son, Camarcus, then I requested the police reports today. So I'll have a lot more to tell you than what I know now. But what I can share with you is there's this wonderful sign. I'm not exactly sure what crossroad this is at, but they put up a sign. Now, Sarah has a similar sign, can't be far from here. So I think it's a real problem in your county if you've got a lot of these signs up. So that means something is not working for you. Why are you not solving these missing persons cases? People don't just disappear into thin air. It doesn't happen. Someone they know has done something to them, or an acquaintance of an acquaintance, whatever the case may be. So let me bring up some information on Erica and Camarcus for you. They have been effectively missing since December of 2022. I believe it was the 17th from what I read earlier in the last few days. They have the major crimes detectives are seeking your information and your help on their whereabouts, according to the sign, and there's a phone number on there. And so I will, that's all on my social media. So, and then there's also a Facebook page for them as well, that their family, I believe, has up. So I'm hoping to hear from somebody in their family whenever they see my note, because I always like to meet the family, whether it's virtually online in a Zoom meeting or in person if I can. If it's in Florida, or if it's on my travels between Florida and Wisconsin, I will meet you in person, because that gives me insight, and I like the families to know that I'm advocating for their loved ones. And a reminder to all of you, I do not charge for this work. This is volunteer work. This is my passion now in my retirement years. I just recently, if you see on the bottom, I recently opened a Cash App and a Venmo. That's just I want small, minimal donations if you so feel inclined, but don't feel like you have to, because you don't. But if you do feel inclined, I'm just looking for small donations to help with the cost of StreamYard. And if I help the families print flyers or do any type of work like that, like for instance, for Karen Reed, I did about $100 worth of flyers for the standouts that I was in. And if there's if the families need me and need help because they can't afford it, I want to be able to do that for them, to help print flyers or to get the flyers donated if I can, and keep the cost down. So that this Cash App and Venmo is only for program costs, is what they are called. And there'll be a spreadsheet for that, for accountability and for transparency. I will not be receiving any salary, and I won't accept any donations from anyone in the form of a salary. I don't need it. And this is not why I do this work. So I thank you all so much. And I am very happy that I got the chance to meet Erica and Camarcus via their family pages on Facebook, and from the information that I was given by Sarah's soldiers. So let me pull up this, let me share my screen with you, and I'm just going to pull up some information that I do have. Again, their disappearance is brand new to me. I've had time to spend time talking to April and learning about Cody, but I do not know much about what the situation is with Erica and Camarcus Brooks. So you're learning with me tonight in this introduction, and then we'll do something much more in depth when we do a live show just for them, just the two of them. So I'm going to grab my PowerPoint here and open up this link that I found today that hopefully will give me a little more information about them and share that with you guys. So this appears to have been maybe the Citrus County Chronicle. Okay, so that's what's coming up is the Citrus County Chronicle. Okay, let me pull that up for you all. And this isn't very recent, as if I recall from today when I read it. It's been a year ago. I couldn't find anything recent because it's scary once time starts going by. There's not a lot of recent out there for Sarah either, other than things Michelle has done with her standouts, and then the media interviewed her again because we finally Michelle was finally able to get Sarah's missing flyer updated because that hadn't been happening, and so it needed to be updated. So that happened, and that kind of got the attention of the media. So again, you can probably see this maybe a little bit better now with well, it's not the greatest, isn't? Let me see if I can make it bigger for you. Hang on a second here. Try to make it. Is it going to let me? No, this page isn't going to let me make it any bigger for you. So that's the best I've got for now. But I've got these on my social media. So if you're looking for the phone numbers, you can look on Facebook or Twitter X. If you don't have either one of those, email me and I'll get you the phone numbers for Marion County Sheriff in case you want to have that for future. So it says, since August 2023, 2 billboard-style signs have been on the grounds of the Hernando Historic School at the intersection of Florida Avenue, US 41, and Norvell Bryant Highway. One sign faces northbound towards Dunellen, with the other sign angled to be seen by those traveling southbound on Florida Avenue. So that's great that they were able to do that. 2 people are pictured on the signs, a smiling man and woman, but unless a person isn't speeding past the signs or is waiting at the traffic light, it's not hard to imagine it's the type of sign in which a pastoral couple are inviting people to come worship at their church. Not sure what they mean by that. I'm really not sure where they're going with that one, right? I see what they're saying, that this is not a sign that's asking you to come and see a church, or that's a happy sign. They're going with, these signs are not that. So on the signs are the images of Erica LaShawn Brooks, age 44, in 2022, and her son Camarcus Brooks, 20, as of December 17th, 2022. That was the last time either has been heard or seen. Now, this is a very rare, very strange, that a mother and a son went missing at the exact same time. And there's just literally, they dropped off into thin air. Same with Sarah Ebersol, but she was obviously by herself. So the information is from Detective John Lytle with the Marion County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Division, that the pair had last been seen sleeping at their home, which was, I'm not reading the address out. However, when other family members returned, the pair was gone and no one has heard from them since that day. Family members, of which several live in Citrus County, have been cooperative in the effort to find their loved ones, but because this is still ongoing investigation, other questions regarding family, friends, and associates remains confidential because it's an ongoing investigation. Also remaining confidential is information regarding tips that have come in to MCSO. So obviously they haven't been big enough tips to bring, maybe they've brought someone in for questioning, but they don't seem to have a person of interest like they do with Sarah Ebersol. According to the public reaction, the disappearance of the mother and son led to comments on social media sites. I've never heard of this, Lipstick Alley and Web Sleuth. I have not heard of either one of those. Several comments centered on suspicious nature of the disappearance. Of course, it's suspicious. A mother and a son go completely missing together, both of them. So does law enforcement do they have suspects? They just don't have any evidence. We don't know. And that's hard. It's hard for the family and the friends to take when there's no updates being put out into the media, or no new updates on a missing flyer, or any updates at all. There's really nothing in the media other than this that I could find. So there was a lot of Facebook sharing in the beginning, a lot of people obviously praying for their safe return. They had a vigil at the Union Missionary Baptist Church in Dunellen, which is located in the neighborhood where Erica and Okay, so they were living in Denellen, not Ocala. So my mistake. Sorry about that. But so that probably is on the border of Marion County, I guess Citrus County. So they're in Citrus County, but they're just right next to each other. Denellen and Ocala are probably 20 minutes apart at the most, would be my guess. Erica LaShawn Brooks is approximately 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighed about 180 at the time of her disappearance, and her son Camarcus Brooks, approximately 6 feet 4 and weighed 210 at the time of his disappearance. So anyone with anything at all about this case should call Detective John Lytle at 352-369-6715 or the Crime Stoppers number. And I'll put that that'll be on my social medias. You'll see the missing flyer on my social medias, and all these numbers are there. So that's really all I've been able to garner because this case is brand new to me. So I wanted to include it tonight because I just found out about it and I've reached out to the family. I've asked for the police reports, and I wanted to share it with all of you. Yes, Brittany says this should be on the news. I have never seen them air the story. Right. How is this? How is it that Orlando or Daytona Beach Journal or Gainesville, I mean, all these bigger cities that aren't that, Denellen's only about 2 hours from me, 210 at the most. Ocala's an hour. Why has this never been in the news? I had never even heard of these people being missing. It just really upsets me sometimes. Now, my undergrad is in journalism, so I feel I have a right to criticize them because I worked in journalism for a while. And I don't like the whole clicks and for money and for viewership. And I understand it's a business, but how do they choose? How do they pick and choose who they decide is important enough? I'm no disrespect to Gabby Bettino and her family, and rest in peace, dear Gabby, and Brian is also deceased, and that both families suffered immensely because neither family knew what was going on or how bad the domestic violence had escalated to. And the police out there, I believe it was Utah or New Mexico, handled that again very poorly. They didn't see the signs of domestic violence. If they had been trained to recognize the signs of domestic violence, it's very possible that lovely Gabby could have been saved and helped. Her parents could have come together and taken her home and ended that cycle of domestic violence that they were in, that Gabby and Brian were in. But why that case, right? There are so many missing women right now in our country. And even right here in Florida, Sarah's missing. This mother and her son are missing. Why isn't News Nation storming Florida right now and demanding answers? Where is Sarah Ebersol? Where is the Brooks family? Why do certain cases get media attention? I don't know that we'll ever completely understand that, how it happens. And with social media now, with the influence of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, Twitter X, it can be blown out of proportion and out of control. And why one young woman's plight of domestic violence went literally viral, and other women's plights, you never hear about them. You'll never hear about them. You'll never know about them. I met 2 survivors of domestic violence homicide, attempted homicide. They've been on our show. If you want to go and check them out, they're in our live stream tab. We met with them. We heard about the horrific, what they went through. We've met 3 now because, Hannah and Levita, and then we also met angry survivor Sarah, and I have to get in touch with her because I haven't heard from her in a while. I keep up. Levita's a dear friend of mine, and now Hannah and I are becoming friends because of she's an advocate now, speaking out against domestic violence and how we need more proactive measures in our communities to stop it. It is clearly, according to the research that's been going on since the 80s with Ellen Pence out of Minneapolis, it's solvable. Men who have violent tendencies towards their wives, 85% of domestic violence cases are men on women. And then if there are men on men and women on women, anybody that has a violent tendency towards their partner, that can be solved. It can be solved through counseling. It takes a lot of work, but it is rehabilitatable. You can, that'd be an award probably, you can rehabilitate a person who has violent tendencies. They can be rehabilitated if you can catch them in time. Obviously, if they escalate to the unaliving phase where they have taken the life of their loved one, then it's over. I mean, they have to be caught, they have to be put in jail, and they're going to get a very heavy jail sentence for unaliving their wife or their girlfriend or their fiance. Then whatever happens in prison is on them for asking for forgiveness from a higher power and from the family. But if you can catch it in time before it grows to that level of violence. Ellen Pence did many, many studies, and she actually worked with domestic violence men, perpetrators in therapy groups, and was able to turn a lot of their lives around and to get them out of the cycle of violence. And a lot of it is learned behavior from their families before they ever married or dated the person that they're abusing. It's a very tricky, vicious cycle of abuse. And the police have to be trained on this. They have to have training. They have to be able to see the signs, because they can effectively save people's lives. So what I have behind me tonight is the Ocala National Forest. So I wanted to put that up because I always like to try to give you something visual before I put up our deck again or our next video, to get the feel of where we're at. And when on Friday nights, we usually have the courtroom up or a map of Fairview, or something, the Dedham courthouse. And so I try to do backgrounds for you because it kind of puts us in the mentality of where we're at with our victims and their families. So April says the news has been often told to stop reporting. The news has been often told to stop reporting the news. Yeah, I mean, right. Sometimes the police will actually say, we don't want any more attention on this case. Now, sometimes there's a reason for that, and it's a good reason, because they don't want the bad guy to know that we're onto them. They want him to think that they're safe. So there is a good reason. Sorry, guys, I got to take a drink here. My allergies were acting up a little bit today. There is a good reason for that sometimes, but other times they just don't want attention drawing on it because they're stubborn and they want to keep working on it. Even if they've hit a dead end, they don't want to give up the case. And that's narcissistic. If you can't solve it, if it's 2.5 years, and the statistics are telling us that most missing people are found within a year, and it's 2.5 years for the Brooks family and for Sarah Ebersol, maybe that means you need to let this go to a higher power. And like we learned from April, the higher power has to be invited in by the municipality, by the organization that is running and conducting the investigation. There's rules to all of this. So we will learn more about the Brooks family, Erica and her son, next time that I can put together and do a little more research. I want to get the redacted police reports. I want to try to interview with one of the detectives. Hopefully I'll get to meet someone from the family. And when I put all that together, I'll let you know well in advance when I'm going to do my next live show on this family. And I'm just so sorry if any of you are watching or you see this in replay. To the Brooks family, I'm so sorry for your agony and your grief, and I'll do the best that I can to advocate for you. Next up, so I just want to briefly mention that Sarah Ebersol is still missing. She has not been found, and this is a 2.5 year battle now for her dear sister Michelle, who is really been leading the charge to try to find her sister and figure out what happened to her. Now Michelle and I have had case planning sessions together that are live. You can go in, if you go to our Social Change Warriors library, I can't talk tonight. You will go to the live tab and you can arrow down and you will see all the live streams that we have done on Sarah Ebersol. I will do a update live stream, and just for those of you that have never heard of this case that are new to my channel, in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'll do some type of an update where I'll donate at least an hour, because Sarah's case is very complicated and there's a lot involved, to go over everything, because I want to keep her name in your mouths. I want to keep justice for her going. Now, there is a very generous community right now over there in Marion County, and especially one donor has donated most of this reward. I'm not supposed to say that, but I'm going to say it anyway, but I won't say her name because she wants to remain anonymous. But she has donated a good chunk of this $20,000 reward, and many others of you have chipped in what you could afford. And Michelle is forever grateful, and all of us that are advocating for Sarah, all of Sarah's soldiers over in Ocala, area in Marion County and all of Florida. We have people from all of Florida following this. We have people all over the country following Sarah's case now because of Michelle's advocacy. And she has a Facebook page. So if you go to Facebook, I think if you just type in Sarah Gail Ebersol, you'll get to Michelle's page. And then there's really not a lot happening right now. There was some bad things happening, and I don't have permission yet to share that with you involving the father of Sarah's child. So I will get permission if I can get it. If I will, I'll share it with you, but I'm not going to share anything without permission right now from the family. But everything that I do know and that I have learned, and that Michelle has been on many live streams with me, and you can go and watch those in our library of live, just go in the live button and look for the Sarah Ebersol case. But we will continue to advocate for Sarah. We will continue to ask Tyrone Mormon and his family to please come forward and explain why Tyrone's cell phone and Sarah's cell phone pinged together at 4 a.m. at a convenience gas station on the corner of the highway over there in Reddick, Florida, the same gas station where she was dropped off by a friend, where she met up with the partiers that night, where she went to a house party and was hanging out, and pictures were taken. Snapchat was going on, and the other gentleman that was involved in this party supplied pictures to Michelle and then to the police. So there were 3 people that partied with Sarah that night that saw her all the way up to at least 4 o'clock alive and well. And then Tyrone Mormon, who came to join the party later on into the evening, like maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock-ish, and then was asked to give Sarah a ride somewhere. We know this because the witnesses have stated it. All 3 witnesses have stated that he did arrive and that Sarah did leave with him. And he is refusing to cooperate. He will not tell us where he drove her. He will not admit that he drove her anywhere. This doesn't make sense to all of us that are Sarah's soldiers, because the proof is in the science. The cell phones are science now, guys. If you don't want your location known, too bad. If you commit a crime and you got a cell phone on you, you better have turned it off, or you better have a throwaway, because it's going to show us where you were, and it's going to show where the victim was if they have a cell phone. The modern technology is helpful now to helping find missing people and to helping solve crimes. So Tyrone, it's factual. You are a person of interest. You are on a flyer that says you are a person of interest. I don't make this shit up. I don't invent witnesses. I don't invent evidence. I just go with what I know factually. And then I give my opinion, which is my opinion only. I'm not slandering anyone. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm saying, based on the evidence, based on what Marion County has told me, you are a person of interest. And you or your cell phone was with Sarah Gail Ebersol at 4 a.m. on March 3rd of 2023. So you effectively were one of the last people to see her alive. So you need to stop this, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever game you think you're playing. If you gave someone your cell phone that night, if you borrowed it to someone and they are the ones that gave Sarah the ride, then tell. I know the whole snitching thing is a bad thing, right? Well, this woman has a child. This woman has a sister and a family and friends, and she deserves to be found. She deserves to be located, whether she's alive or dead. She deserves that, because my life mattered. She's telling you that, Tyrone. Sarah is telling you my life mattered. So we'll be back with another update and give more background into Sarah's Gail Ebersol's very bizarre missing persons case. We haven't done an update for a while, so we'll do one in a couple of weeks for all of you that are interested and have been following in our Sarah's soldiers. So we'll continue to fight for justice for Sarah Gail Ebersol, and I will continue to fight for justice for her daughter, Cora. So again, remember, missing persons, 85% of the cases were solved within a week. Where is Sarah Ebersol? 95% within a month. Where are the Brooks family? 97% within 6 months. Where are these people? They had lives. They deserve to be found alive or dead. They deserve that. So let's get it together, Marion County. Let's find these people, and let's keep advocating until we can help the families find them. Next up, I would like to talk about a new and very sad and disturbing case that was brought to my attention by a very lovely young woman who has been, she was with me last night because I mentioned it during my Wednesday live stream last night. And she's been with us tonight in the friend zone. Brittany, thank you so much. She was a dear friend. And I also met, and I'm sorry, Brittany, if you could type in the chat box the first name, I forgot, was it was it Stephanie? I think it was Stephanie. It was Deshaun's former partner. So I am going to dive into this case. I've been sent all of the information, pages and pages of police reports. It's going to take me weeks before I can dedicate an entire hour to Deshaun, but I will get there and I will let you know when I'm going to do that. And Deshaun, rest in peace, March 10th, 1984 to March 7th, 2023. And this is a very disturbing case for me because as a former law enforcement officer, I'm going to tell you now, and this has nothing politics involved, that we are a bipartisan channel. Everyone is welcome here. Every color, creed, nationality, religion, politics, everyone's welcome here. We are social change warriors. We are justice seekers. We are advocates. We are bipartisan. But we also can have opinions on laws and policies and who are infecting those laws and policies on us. I have had a problem since I first moved to Florida in 2009, full-time. Then I left and went out to Los Angeles and went to grad school for a year. And then I moved back home to Madison for a while and then came back to Florida. So I've been in and out of Florida pretty much a lot since 2009. So I've gotten to know their laws. I've gotten to know the Florida Stand Your Ground laws through some other cases that I followed, and I don't like it. So I'm just going to tell you that right now. You may like it, and that's okay. Again, we all have our own opinions in this world. You can have your own opinion in the friend zone. I'm not going to be mad at you, and I hope you're not going to be mad at me. I don't like the current Florida Stand Your Ground law. It is way too broad. And I'm going to write a letter to my congressman and my senator for Volusia County, for my area, asking that it be looked into and that it be reformed because it scares the crap out of me, to be honest with you. I have friends who are African Americans and I have family members who are African Americans. And it is very scary to me that there is a much larger amount of these Florida Stand Your Ground laws happening with people of color. And that is not right. And that is a severe problem. And there has to be some consequences. You can't just go rogue and just do whatever you want because you believe the Florida Stand Your Ground law is going to protect you. We are not the Wild West. You are not the police. The police can't even discharge their weapon or get their weapon out of their holster without probable cause. There is what's called the force continuum. And as a law enforcement officer, you have to think quick on your feet and you have to work yourself through that force continuum. What is the threat? Do I see a weapon? What threat is there to me or to mostly the surrounding public? But the officer is also allowed to include threat on themselves because we want to go home at night. We want to see our kids. We don't want to be killed in the line of duty. So threat assessment, an officer is trained how to do that very rapidly. And if you don't see a weapon, you cannot discharge your weapon. If someone's being disorderly, they're drunk, they're a fool, they're drunk and obnoxious, disorderly conduct, they're starting a bar fight, you can use your pepper spray. You can use your baton if you need to, if that person's not listening to your commands to get down on the ground and stop fighting. But you cannot shoot somebody. You cannot just walk up and shoot somebody, which is what happened to this lovely, beautiful young man. He was shot multiple times in an Applebee's in the Villages of Florida. And I am, again, just learning about this case. I've read about half the police reports, about half the witness statements, but I'm already getting a feel that I don't like this. I don't like where this is going. I don't like where it went. And I'm very sorry for the friends, the family, the loved ones, the parents of this young man, because my life mattered, he is saying to you. My life mattered more than a Florida Stand Your Ground law. My life mattered more than a concealed carry permit. My life mattered. So I will be doing a lot of work on this the next several weeks, reading every police report, highlighting, making phone calls, asking questions, because this just can't stand. We can't, we have to work as a community together, whether you believe in concealed carry or what your thoughts are on the gun laws in our country. We all have different political thoughts on that because we've made guns political. Guns aren't political. Gun is a weapon. It should only be used in an absolute emergency by a trained professional, in my opinion. And if you do use it for self-protection, you sure as hell better know how to use it. You sure as hell better know what you're doing. And you better make sure that that person was coming for you to with death in their eyes for you, as Levita would say. If you're claiming self-defense, you sure as hell better know what you're doing, because you don't know what it feels like to take someone else's life. I don't know what it feels like. I am grateful and thankful that I never had to do that in the line of duty. But I know that if you do that, if you enact in your brain that I got the Florida Stand My Ground law, if that even flashes through your mind when you're in a bar fight or you're out in public, unless it's extreme emergent situations, like when we've had mass shooters, correct? When we've had mass incidents where someone is driving a truck down a street in New Orleans and is attempting to hurt people, is that where you could enact a stand your ground law type thing, or a defense mechanism? Yes, you could be. But again, you have to be very careful, because you could shoot someone by accident. You're not a trained professional. You don't go to in-service every 3 to 4 months. We don't even have a clue how often you train or work with your weapon at a shooting range. And I'm just telling you, as a former police officer, as a mother, hopefully as a future grandmother, these laws we have right now, these loose gun laws and the Florida Stand Your Ground law, scares the crap out of me. It really, truly does. And that's just, I'm allowed to say my opinion on here because this is my live stream, and you don't have to agree with me. I will respect you. I will respect your right to an opinion. That is my opinion. And that's why I'm extra upset by this particular young man and Jason Veach, Kara Veach's husband. Again, they refused to prosecute in a bar fight situation where he was held down and asphyxiated by the people that were holding him down. Did they do it on purpose? Absolutely not. That's a whole different case. Did this person shoot Deshaun Hudson on purpose? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And so we need to understand better, why did he do that? Why did he feel that was necessary? Why is he just charging a weapon in an Applebee's? He could have hit innocent bystanders. He's not professionally trained. Officers go through intense training with their firearm in services 3 to 4 times a year, the police academy, to even get hired. I am very disturbed in a lot of ways that I could be out and about and accidentally piss someone off, and they could pull a gun on me because they could claim that I threatened them and that they were in fear of their life. And then it's going to be their word against my dead word, because I'm probably dead, right? So that's exactly what we have here. We don't get to ask Deshaun what happened. We don't get to ask him, why was he showing what was in his pockets? Why did he feel he had to show this guy what was in his pockets? Did he know this guy had a gun? He was being blamed for shooting a gun in the parking lot. I have yet to see any evidence of that. I have seen 3 different reports from 3 different news stations, one accusing him of shooting his gun in the air 3 times in the parking lot. One of saying they don't know who shot the gun. One of saying that people think it was another person, and they got in their car after they shot the gun in the air and fired 3 times and left the scene. So which is it? So it's very probable to me that Deshaun never had a weapon on him. He most certainly didn't have a weapon on him in the Applebee's, and he most certainly did not have a weapon on him because they searched his person at the hospital and he was not carrying a weapon. So this is a disturbing loss of life, and I'll be reading it, looking into it, doing as much as I can. I don't know that we'll ever see this case in a court of law, but we will advocate for this young man, because this is not acceptable. You don't get to play vigilante and shoot someone in a crowded restaurant. It's beyond the pale. So that's my opinion, and there will be those of you out there that don't agree with me, and that is okay. This is America. We're allowed not to agree. But don't be coming at me with threats, because I've heard that has happened to others that have advocated for this young man. I won't accept or tolerate that. I'm an advocate. I am advocating for the wellness and justice for people whose lives have been taken by not their own hand. So I am no threat to you. I'm giving my opinion. This is my opinion. So Deshaun, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you lost your life at such a young age of 38 years old. And I will advocate for you. If we advocate for you in the guise of how we're advocating for Jason Veach, that the Florida Stand Your Ground law needs to change. It needs to be tightened up. I'm not saying you have to get rid of it. If you want that here in Florida, that's what you vote for. That's why you vote for governor, and that's why you vote for your senators and your congressmen. But you don't get to just have this loosey-goosey law that just about gives anybody the right to shoot someone. I have learned of 4 of these cases in Volusia County and in Marion County and surrounding counties just in the last year. And that's like an epidemic to me, an epidemic of people thinking that they can just shoot someone because they think that they are in charge at that moment and they are in fear for their life. If you're truly in fear for your life, if someone is truly pointing a gun at you or they are running at you with a knife, then I understand the Florida Stand Your Ground law. But if you don't know, if you have no way of knowing for sure, then you just have to get the hell out of there. It's called turn around and flee. Nobody's expecting you to stick up for the whole world when there's a violent person in your midst or someone that you perceive to be violent. Same with the Jason Beach. He was drunk, disorderly. His wife, Kara, has no problem with that. He was at fault for that, but he most certainly didn't deserve to be held down on a bar floor for 9 minutes and end up being asphyxiated to death because they thought he was a threat. He did not have the weapon. The other man had a hatchet. Why weren't you holding down the guy with the hatchet? Make this make sense to me. How is the guy with the hatchet the guy claiming Florida Stand Your Ground law? This case makes zero sense. Jason Beach's case. It's maddening. It's upsetting. And again, I've live streamed about it many times since last fall. We're going to continue to advocate for Jason. I don't know if we'll ever get it back into court, but we'll continue to advocate because now we are finding that there are too many cases of Florida Stand Your Ground law that don't have the parameters of what Florida Stand Your Ground law is. And I'll read you the actual legal definition of that next time we meet and we get to know Deshaun better and Brittany. And Brittany is his girlfriend, was his former partner's name Stephanie. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I know she was in the live last night and I said hi to her, but there were a lot of people I said hi to. So we will continue to meet and I will continue to research this case. I'm going to show you, trigger alert, something very disturbing. So that way you'll have that in your memory. You'll understand what went on here. If you are very sensitive to seeing violence, then you should turn away or just mute me for a few minutes. But I am going to show this because it for me to work on this case, it needs to be seen. And for those of you to help me work on this case, when you come on Thursdays, you need to see it as well. And so, but if you choose not to, and you just want me to describe it to you, I can do that. But I would do this as a trigger alert now that I am going to show a disturbing video from Applebee's on the night that Deshaun's life was taken from him in what they are claiming would be a Florida Stand Your Ground case. This is taking me a second. I have a lot of tabs open, so sorry about that. Just take me a minute to find the one that that actually shows what I want to show you. Or I may have to come back to that one. Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay. So again, this is going to be a trigger warning for those of you that don't want to see something violent, because I'm going to show you the actual video from the Applebee's. It was shown on the news. We're getting to a point now in the society where we'll just about show anything. I don't like that. I want people to be prepared if they're going to see something violent. So that's all. I just want to give you that one last trigger alert to mute if you need to mute. It's probably about 2 minutes and 32 seconds long. So be prepared.
Fox 35, and it shows what happened the day a man was shot and killed inside an Applebee's restaurant. It happened in Lady Lake about 2 months ago.
The state attorney just gave us this video. Fox 35, Stephanie Buffamonte is joining us live here in the studio tonight. So, Stephanie, the state attorney says no charges will be filed against the man who pulled the trigger.
That is right. And like you said, this is the video that shows that deadly shot fired. According to documents from the state attorney's office, stand your ground and self-defense applies in this case, which is why the shooter is not facing charges for killing the man inside the Applebee's. The report paints a picture as to why people inside the restaurant say they were scared of the man who was shot and why the shooter felt he needed to fire his gun.
In this video, you can see the man in the white hat, Deshaun Hudson, walk into the Lady Lake Applebee's in March, just after 1 in the morning. He's talking to a group of people, empties his pockets, then someone shoots at him. The shooter, who officials say had a concealed weapons permit, walks around the corner, disassembles his gun, and puts his hands in the air. The report from the state attorney's office describes Hudson as having a series of violent outbursts before this shooting. The report says Hudson was at another restaurant before this with a group. A witness said they saw Hudson with a gun and that he was threatening people there. Then they went to Applebee's having drinks on the patio when the report says Hudson made a disrespectful comment toward a woman picking up to-go food. Her boyfriend got upset and confronted him about it. According to the report, Hudson then fires 3 gunshots in the air as he walks toward the couple's car and then aims the gun at the car as they're driving away. The people outside ran in the restaurant and an employee locked the door before Hudson could come in. But a customer opened the door and Hudson came inside. Witnesses say he was angry and yelling, "Who called the cops?" And "Do you want to see what is in my pockets?" as he emptied them. That's when the customer inside the restaurant fired the shots.
According to the state attorney's office, when Hudson's body was taken to the medical examiner, they did not find a gun. The state attorney's office stated in that report that it is reasonable to believe that a jury would believe this is self-defense, but if there is additional information that comes forward, this case could be reevaluated. In the studio, Stephanie Buffmonte, Fox 35 News.
Monday CRM has the best AI.
So I have a lot of problems with that. First of all, for them to do that type of a story like that, I don't feel that they did their due diligence enough. A lot of that was alleged, and there's no video surveillance of Deshaun ever having a gun. And from what I've learned from the other witnesses that I've read the reports is that a lot of these people were friends of the person who shot him. And also how Florida Stand Your Ground law states that you have to be in fear of your life, that the other person has to have a weapon higher level than yours. So if you have nothing and that person has a knife or a beer bottle or a stick, that you can grab a knife, a beer bottle, or a stick, but you can't grab a machine gun. Okay, to understand. So you have to meet the level. That's how it is read. And you have to be you can't be incapacitated. You can't have any alcohol on board, according to what I read. And I'll read you that next time we meet, the actual verbiage from the Florida Stand Your Ground law. All of these people had been drinking. They had been at this Gators place, according to the ladies that I've spoken to, where Deshaun probably had too much to drink. It was I think it either was his birthday or it was the birthday. His birthday was within a few days. So he and his friends that he was with were celebrating, and he got a little obnoxious, not unlike Jason Veach. He drank too much. He was obnoxious. How many times have you all been in a bar where something happened, where there was some type of an altercation or a shouting match, or even an actual bar fight where there's no weapons, but people are fighting? This happens in college towns, at college town bars. It happens all over. Bar fights are not uncommon. Alcohol and male testosterone do not mix. So, sorry, I'm having throat issues tonight with my allergies. When you mix alcohol and you mix men, male egos, testosterone, it is never good. And so I've always encouraged the men in my life not to drink too much, because it's just something that happens. Alcohol can cause violence, and you see it all the time. And in domestic violence cases, a majority of them involve alcohol. When the man is beating his wife, he's drinking. That's many, many times. I went to many cases of domestic violence in my years when I was doing ride-alongs before I became an officer and when I did become an officer. And I would say 9 times out of 10, alcohol was involved. So you're in a bar, they're drinking. Deshaun's being obnoxious. He's being crude to some woman, and this pissed off this guy. Now he's carrying because he has a permit to carry. I'm under the understanding in most states, even if you have a permit to carry, you cannot carry in a bar. So unless Florida has really gone rogue on me, and I'll be looking into the laws, trust me, I'm going to do a deep dive on this. I may even call a couple attorneys. He shouldn't be carrying a weapon in a bar. It should have been locked in his trunk. I don't understand. The carry concealed, I don't believe applies to bars, but maybe in Florida it does. There's so much in Florida that I am learning that is outrageous. I was told by the Volusia County Sheriff Captain that I'm basically not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. We don't see a problem with a hatchet being brought into a bar. How do you not see a problem with a hatchet being brought into a bar? It has no place in a bar. Whether you're drunk or mad or pissed or you're not, you're just not anything. You just want to carry your hatchet on your belt. And that's okay in Florida to carry a hatchet into a bar. And in this case, he went to his car because he was mad that Jason was giving the bartender a hard time and retrieved the hatchet. The witnesses stated it. So how is that person, the hatchet person, Florida stand your ground? Deshaun was emptying his pockets. He was clearly saying, look, he took change out of his pocket. He wasn't reaching for a gun. He wasn't attacking anybody. He asked, who the fuck called the police? What's wrong with that? People say that all the time in bars or in parking lots where there might have been a fight or a verbal disagreement, and then nobody wants anybody to call the police. And so someone might say, oh, who the hell called the police? None of that was to the level of defending yourself or of needing to defend. He didn't come in there like he was going to attempt to shoot up an Applebee's, which in this day and age, it's very scary. These mass shootings, the school shootings at theaters, at concerts, it's scary. And I understand that people are on high alert and scared, but this wasn't like that. That's not what happened. It's very clear on the surveillance. He walked in, he didn't run in. He wasn't trying to fight anybody. He wasn't yelling at anybody that he wanted to fight anybody. He just wanted to know who called the police. And then he's emptying out his pockets. He must have known that man was carrying, would be my guess, from their altercation at the Gators bar. So we have a lot of problems with Deshaun's, what I believe was a manslaughter case. We have a lot of problems with it. So we're going to dig into it. We're going to see what we can come up with and advocate for him. And I thank those that contacted me and asked me. I'm honored that you asked me to look into this. Again, this is my opinion about the Florida Stand Your Ground law. It does not have to be yours. It's my opinion on how this person should not have reacted that way that night. The police should have been called if they felt there was going to be a fight was going to ensue, or there was going to be some type of a bar fight in an Applebee's. 911 should have been called by all the, there's pages and pages and pages of witnesses. Where were the police? What was taking them so long to get there if this verbal altercation had been going on since they were at the Gators and now they brought it to the Applebee's? So I have a lot of questions. I want to look into it. I owe this to the family, and I will do that. So I'll be in touch with you as to when we're going to live stream again about Deshaun. So I just want to end my night tonight thanking all of you for caring about people and their families who have been unalived by the hands of someone else. I do want to share with you, to end the night, I'd like to share with you the other victims of homicides and or missing who I have been standing for now since last summer. So I'd like to just share that with you. I'll play our theme song tonight while I share their photos. Again, this is Sarah Ebersol. This is the missing family, the Brooks, Erica and Kamaris Brooks, our newest two. Well, Sarah's not a new case, but we're going to continue to update you on. This is a new case that I'm going to be following. And then Justice for Cody. Thank you again to her mother, April, for sharing Cody with us. And we will be looking very deeply into what happened to Cody and justice for Cody. So I'm just going to share with you that this beautiful, intelligent woman was unalived in my home state of Wisconsin. This happened I believe it was a year and a half ago now, but the reason why I'm showing it to you again is I showed it to you before, but this person was convicted and their sentencing is in August. This was a first date. So ladies, please be careful. Please, please, please do your due diligence. I know we don't want to live our lives in fear, and I don't advocate for living your lives in fear, but do your due diligence. You don't know these people. You don't know what kind of violent background they might come from. You just have to be careful. Until you know more about a person, don't meet them alone. I'm so sorry for the loss of Sadie Robinson from my home state of Wisconsin, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She was a vibrant, beautiful college student. She did not deserve this. My life mattered, and he will now go to jail. But it's really not enough. It's justice if you want to call it justice, but it's just sick. It's sickening and horrible, and absolutely didn't need to happen. They didn't even know each other, for God's sake. it's not that it makes it better when someone knows each other. I didn't mean to infer that, but it's just so egregious when you are trying to put yourself out there and date in this world as a single woman. And we do have to somewhat live in fear. But it's very, like I said, it's very unusual for women to die by the hands of someone they don't know. And technically she did know him. So she falls into that percentage of knowing her killer. But she didn't know him well and not for long. So I'm very sorry to Sadie's family again. And this is just crushing. These beautiful children were unalived by their father at a park because the courts deemed it so in the state of Washington that he could still have unsupervised visitation, even though there was a domestic violence situation going on with the mother and the mother was divorcing him. The courts did not do their due diligence. This is happening a lot in our country. Children are being killed by their parents because we're not doing our due diligence to protect them from the other parent. This is just atrocious. The last time I checked, which I did not check today, but he has not been found dead or alive. That he was seen on surveillance cameras. So there is belief that this is him and that he is alive and trying to evade capture. So I'll keep you updated on this. This is horrific. And again, shouldn't have ever happened. So I'd like to end our night with honoring the victims and survivors that we have come to know and their families. Where a beautiful soul has traveled, beautiful memories remain forever. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight. My life mattered, just us. I hope to see you again.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for heroes, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Thank you, everyone. Again, I appreciate you for joining us tonight, Social Change Warriors. We will be back tomorrow night with Friday Night Lies, our final coverage of the Karen Read trial. We will also have some coverage next week during jury deliberations. So I look forward to meeting with you tomorrow night on Friday Night Lies. Until then, I hope you have a safe night and please take care of yourselves. It's just us.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice.